Hello, hello, welcome everybody. I'm Jev. Yes, Triple V. The accent, by the way, is purely Kiwi. I read old stories for children, so we keep this a family-friendly channel by having bad word blockers, banning bots, and preventing spam. So that means new followers need to wait a few minutes before they can join in the chat. Since these stories are so old, they're now in the public domain, which means they are free to read for anyone and by anyone, the way many Christmas songs are. The digital versions I read are from Project Gutenberg, and you'll find the link for that below. The physical ones are just old books my family has lying around. Sometimes I'll even show them to you. These, by the way, are live reads. Think of them as bedtime stories rather than actual audiobooks. You get the benefits of my mistakes, distractions, explanations, and terrible attempts at accents, along with plenty of chat and interruptions as we find out about things in the story. If you need to do work or chores, then that's fine. Just come and lurk. Please adjust your volume to suit. There are captions available if you have to be quiet or you have hearing challenges, but be warned, sometimes the captions aren't always that accurate. I am a member of the Codex, an awesome group of reading streamers on Twitch. People from many walks of life who share their love of reading, and you'll find links to the Codex reading team and our Discord server below. A special feature of the Codex Discord is the security channel for those of you who stream or moderate. You'll find lots of practical, useful information to help keep your stream and your community safe. So, hang around and come discover adventure with me. You never know what we'll find. Look, Ma, no hands. No hands on the handbars. Yeah, no. Right, so I'm here, kind of. I'm going to leave you guys for a couple of minutes with a tips video because I just need a couple of minutes before I actually get started. Okay, so here we go. Sorry about that, folks. I'll be back in a minute or two.
Hello, my name is Raccoon Z. In Z. That's right, 3 C's and 3 O's. Ha. So, welcome to the stream. we have many tips for you to help enjoy the stream. Number 1, have a drink. I like water. As soon as my human helps me out here. So, another part of that is when I hydrate, when I take a drink, you do too. You can indicate that you've done so by giving a thumbs up or use the water bottle emoji down in chat. Number 3, sure, why not? Food or snacks? I don't have any right now, but you eat whatever you'd like to eat. Maybe it's a whole meal, maybe it's a snack. I don't know. You do you. Number 4, get comfy. You can wrap up in something. Thanks, human. That's more like it. Grab a pillow, maybe you've got a fidget toy you can play with. But do anything you like to be comfy. You could even have, I don't know, maybe your favorite human will give you scritches. Hey, human. That's right. Give me scritches. Yeah, that's right there. Yeah. No, don't touch the floof. Next, we have number 5, something to write with or write on. Hey, I can't reach the pad. There you go. And I need something to write on. I just said something to write. Oh wait, that's something to write on. I need something to write with. Okay. Okay, so I don't have opposable thumbs, but you do. Write memos down. You might need to remember something. Maybe not right now, but maybe after the stream. Number 6, get involved. Join in chat. Chat in chat. Use commands. Play bingo because, that lady says some pretty crazy things from time to time. Make clips. You can even have them featured. Maybe we can see your clips someday. Spin the pages, which are like right down there somewhere. They look like a book or something. The thing down there with a number under chat. And just do whatever you can to enjoy chat. Thanks for watching.
Just trying to get my tablet to reload the chat window because it went and closed itself. I don't know why it does that. It wasn't even one of the ones that needed to be updated. I used to think that it was already like that. That because the tablet decided it had an update for one of the 2 apps that was open, it would shut them down. Because, they can be weird like that. But no, it just randomly did it. Right. It's back. I'm back. My book is charging. I've got my tabs muted. Information. So some of you would have noticed that at the top of the chat panel, when you arrived, it had a thing telling you to subscribe to earn drops. Well, drops aren't available here because I'm not playing a game that has drops. I think that Twitch is trying to encourage people to subscribe by saying, hey, if you do this, you'll get extra bits. But I don't think we actually have something like that involved here. But we do have this to do with clips. I just need to get it to come up on my screen. Oh, wrong one. Made visible the wrong one. So this here, it's not particularly clear, is it? So I might see if I can make it a little bit bigger and then move it around on the page for you. So what this is, it's on the drops page, but it's a new section. So you've got, you can't see my mouse, so I'm going to have to point. That's why it's behind me. So on the drops and rewards page on Twitch, it's, if you just type in Twitch and then drops and then hit enter in Google, it will usually give you a link for this page. not this page, but this page here, drops and rewards. So if you are looking to find a game that somebody's playing that you can get drops for, you look under all campaigns, and then from there you see what the rewards are, and it tells you what the requirements are for making sure that you are connected with the game login as well as with Twitch. Inventory is where you're up to on things that you've received and things that you're in process of receiving. I use that when I look at that a lot when Palia has drops available. I looked at it that one time the DDV had drops available. Yeah, bit of a fail, that one. This is the latest thing, social media badge. So what they're doing is, as a reward for creating clips when you are watching a streamer and then sharing to various social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, there's a bunch of other things like that. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, there you go. They've got icons. This is why we use icons. If you share it to any of those and then catch the link for where you've shared it to and put it in here and the channel name of where that clip is from that you've shared, you will build up points for all the views that happen on those various sources. And then you might get a shiny brand new chat badge that you can choose to use. So the badge levels are Icon, which is Twitch Purple, Pro, and Legend. I don't think I'll ever get anywhere near that. I may get Icon maybe one day. So yeah. And then it will show you a list of what you've posted, how many views it's had, what channel it's for, and what platform. I think platform there may be the different places that you send it to. So thank you, Goriki, for sending me the information about that. I kind of had vaguely taken it in somewhere, I can't remember where, but this is what it looks like when you squish your browser down a little bit so you can get everything in the one page. And you can have a look at that by going to the drops and rewards page and then looking on the social media badge page. And it's all about encouraging people to make clips and share them. Now, if you want to support your favorite streamers or your not quite so favorite streamers by getting more eyes on them while they're streaming, clips are a great way to do it, especially if you share them to other platforms, because it helps people to go, oh, that looks interesting. I had no idea that existed. I'm going to go and check that one out. So there you go. Ways that you can actually help promote your favorite smaller streamers. Largely speaking, I wouldn't bother with any of this. If you're following a really big streamer, one who's got chat that just goes past so fast you can't actually scroll back far enough to see what that comment was you wanted to reply to, that sort of streamer where they've got all that sort of busyness going on, ones who are making a full-time living off it easily, that sort of stuff, there's no need for it, really. They've already got everything in the pocket that they need. So support those who haven't got that going on. And I'm not talking about me, I'm talking in general. Most of us prefer to watch smaller streamers, the ones who have time to chat with the people who are in their channel, who are actually chatting with them, to actually read the comments made and then respond to those. Those are the ones where you feel valued and appreciated. So support them. And this doesn't cost you anything except for a little bit of time to create a clip and then to share it somewhere. There you go. That's what that's all about. Now, I also happen to get it set up so that I have the illustrations for this book in it. One of the things I was doing just before we got started. Let's see if I can make this a little bit more the normal size, because I'm using it in the same slideshow. Here you go. This is one variation, colour-wise, of the cover of our current book, and I think I can actually push it over because I think all the illustrations are actually the same size. That's nice. Why is my voice grating? I don't know. So then the next illustration is this, which we haven't got to. It's only got 3 in the book. That being said, you can be in a big stream and seen, and you can be in a small stream and unseen. Yes, that is very true. Thank you, Goriki, for pointing that out. It's not that it doesn't happen when you're in big streams, or it always happens when you're in smaller streams.
It's just the likelihood is generally greater to be seen in a smaller stream, seen and responded to, and generally not quite so great in a big one. If there are moderators, social moderators involved with a stream, and it's a really busy stream, and the streamer is talking about something and they do want occasional inputs from chat directly, some of those moderators will be keeping an eye on what's happening in chat. They will have separate windows dedicated to chat so they can actually see what's going on, and they will highlight for the streamer some of those comments so that the streamer has enough time to actually be able to look at it and then respond to it, which I think is wonderful. But yeah, we can only daydream at this stage. Yes, I would like to have some more viewers. I do not want to be that big. Honestly, I do not want to be that big. It's great if that's what you see your role as being. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. It's just personally, I'm actually happy to be a smaller streamer and to be able to take the time to chat, to be able to respond to people and things like that. Yes, all streamers would like a few more viewers and even a few more subscriptions if they can be done. But most of us are reasonable human beings, and we're not going to demand it of you. So yeah. There you go. I'm not at the level where I would consider seriously doing a subscriber-only stream or anything like that. Or I don't even have subscriber-only channels on the Discord server just because I don't see me sharing anything, or people who are my subscribers wanting to talk with only other subscribers. If you can see a valid scenario for that, great, go for it. And if you wanted to let me in on a little bit of why and how and all that sort of stuff, fine, talk to me about it, but preferably not while I'm trying to remember that I'm actually here to be reading stories to you guys. Anyway, so other things going on. I have added a new thing onto my wish list on Throne that is one of those little kit set shop or house things that Robotime do under a sub-brand called Rolliff, I think, or Ro Life. I don't know how to say it. It's actually a Chinese company, but they have specialized in doing really nice quality little kit sets. Initially for their own market, but they have become very, very popular around the rest of the world. They sell them everywhere. And generally speaking, even on places like AliExpress, they are still their standard full price, which means they've got a little bit of clout when it comes to how they are presented elsewhere. So one of the things, the thing that I put on my list was a bookshop. Actually, Goriki pointed it out. He'd seen one somewhere and thought they were really cool, and I think it would be really cool. And I was looking through their range. They've got the little shop house type ones where it's like a room of a house or something like that. They usually make up to about that sort of a size, I think. And then there's some other ones which are a bit cheaper, and then they're parts, but you don't assemble them quite the same way. And those ones are actually made out of plastic. They also look quite good, but I like the style of those actual main laser cut timber ones, which they'll often have a paint finish, and they'll have stickers for extra details. There's plant pots and lights and flowers and furniture and all sorts of bits and pieces. They're really cool. And then another thing that they do is book nooks. I don't know if you know what a book nook is. What it is a narrow little like a diorama type thing, except that instead of being a picture frame shape with a narrow depth, which is a standard diorama is, or diorama, these are the opposite. They are long and relatively deep and quite narrow, so that ideally you put them in a bookshelf in between books and you look down into the scene. Although some of them, they've actually got, there's one that's a garden greenhouse or glass house that's got an armchair and a tea trolley and things like this in it. But if you actually have it on a shelf, you can look in through the side windows of the glass house. But those ones are really cool too. But one of the things that really amused me was how many of them are to do with bookshops. And there's one that's a Japanese scene, supposedly a scene in Japan, in Tokyo, where there's one of the electric suburban trains going past in the back of the scene, and in the front of the scene you've got a building down one side and a building down the other. There's a little wee river down the middle with some sakura blossom on it. And then if you look in, or look at it while you're assembling it. This is the thing, is they actually still have all the details on them, even though you can't see right inside by putting a head in it, sort of thing. But one of those buildings on the side of that particular one actually is, in theory, a bookshop. There's another one which is based off an actual French bookshop in Paris, a bookshop, an international bookshop in Paris, France, the Shakespeare. It's famous. I was hoping that we could go and see it when we were over there years ago. Even I knew about it way back then, but it gets a bit busy. It's also been seen of several places in movies as well, that the real place has. And so this little diorama is based on the feel of that. The actual shop itself is not a huge shop in real life, but it's like it's one section of that, looking at the front of the building and then into it. But it's really, really cool. And I think they're all wonderful and I want them all, but I haven't got the time to even assemble them all, let alone the money to be able to get them. But yeah, if you're wondering, that's what that one's on there for, is the bookshop one, not the Paris bookshop. This is another bookshop. It's also lovely. I really like this one. Actually, I like this one better than the Paris one. It's just I was elaborating on the fact that they really do. They have quite a few things which have bookshops or something around books as a main theme in their model series. Probably more than any of the other things that they do, actually. What was that?
Makes sense for a book nook.
Yeah, it makes sense for a book nook, but I was talking about ones that aren't just book nooks. So, yeah. Now, I've got an extra wrap on this water bottle at the moment. This is school. That's because I was at a funeral and I didn't want to have to take time and explain why I had a bit of tape which said school on my water bottle. So I'm not going to take that off at the moment. I'm just going to leave that on there. So I've still got time. I've still got mother. We still have school. It's just hidden. Anyway, so we're going to carry on with reading this story. I think that's all sorted there. Yeah, so don't forget, you can clip and share clips to social media. In fact, I was quite surprised. I don't normally, I have once or twice created a short for YouTube, and usually it's because I've transferred a clip from over here over to YouTube, and the last one I did that with got a lot more views than I was expecting, and apparently that's the way a lot of people are being found these days. That's the way the kids do it. Waiting for this to unlock. Yes, there it is. So what we're up to, we're reading Dorothy Dale at Glenwood School, written by Margaret Penrose, first published in 1908, and an American author. And she is an American author. Right. No, not going to go there. Chapter 5, The Police Patrol. Oh, they had been off for a picnic with the cousins, Dorothy's cousins, and that had something go wrong with the vehicle that they were in, one of the cousins' car. And so the boys had gone off into town to go and get the part fixed, and the girls had stayed with the car, but they saw someone coming along the road and he looked a little bit suspicious. So they got out of the car and snuck away before he got to where the car was, and then they could see this guy. They were up the road, the girls were. They could see the guy having a look at the car and inspecting the car and getting in the car and then getting out of the car and then getting in the car and getting in the back. and they're a little bit worried about it. And now the boys have just come back from town, and the girls have just told them that that's what's going on. And then the boys went to the car, and the boys were at the car now, and they were speaking to the man. And so one of the concerns was that this man was the bad guy who had been trying to get to have a go at Dorothy because he had missed out on the money that he felt was his, because he was persuading someone out of their own inheritance. Yeah, not a good guy. I get the feeling that we're probably going to keep meeting him in each of the stories. I really wish we didn't, but yeah. Anyway, Chapter 5, The Police Patrol. For some moments, neither girl spoke. Tavia stood out on the road like an officer, while Dorothy did not lift her head from her attitude of prayer. Suddenly, Dorothy, in a frenzy of fear, rushed out to where Tavia stood and threw her arms around her. "Tavia," she exclaimed, "I must go to them. I cannot stand another moment like this. I am simply choking. Come. See, they have not been able to manage him. He's in the car yet. Oh, do let us go." So this is because the boys are at the car talking to the guy. And the look on the terrified girl's face so frightened Tavia she forgot everything but Dorothy. Something would surely happen to her if that anxiety was not soon relieved. But to go to the boys, might not that make matters worse? "Dorothy, darling," began Tavia, "don't be so frightened. Please, they are just talking pleasantly to him. Then I must hear them. I must know what it's all about. Do come." And she tried to drag Tavia from the spot to which she seemed riveted. "If you would only wait here while I go down first, and then if it's all right. That is, if the boys want us to come." "No, no," cried Dorothy. "I must go. At once. See? Oh, Nat is coming this way. Yes, here comes Nat. It will all be all right now." And Tavia was soothing Dorothy as if she were a baby, patting her, smoothing her hair, and even pressing her lips to her cheek. In truth, Dorothy appeared as weak as a baby, and seemed to require that help which a loving human hand may impart to a nervous body, at once the sense of protection and the assurance of sympathy. Now, you've got to remember that the second half of the first book, last third of the book, she had been sent off to stay with her aunt, the cousin's mum, at her holiday home because she was likely to suffer a breakdown or some sort of other major health issue because of the stress of this guy attacking her physically, trying to choke her, etc., and also the stress of her worrying about whether he was going to sneak up on her and all this sort of stuff going on. So, yeah, she's still in a reasonably frail state in a lot of ways. "Ned is starting up the machine," exclaimed Tavia. "Oh, I know, he's going to give the man a ride." Little dreaming how truly she spoke, for indeed Ned was going to give the strange man a stranger ride. Tavia showed Dorothy that she believed everything was all right now, and then Nat was there. They could call to him. Yes, he was whistling lightly. How silly they were to have been frightened. "What is it?" demanded Dorothy as soon as her cousin could hear her voice. "I guess it was—" "Nat! Nat!" screamed Tavia at the same time, running to him and whispering a word in his ear. "There now, Dorothy, didn't I tell you? Only a poor farmer. Where did he say he lived, Nat?" So Tavia has just stopped Nat saying it was the bad guy, whispered in his ear, "Do not say that guy's name, Anderson. You can pretend it was anybody else, you can lie about it, but do not say it was Anderson," because she's about to really flip out. "There now, Dorothy, didn't I tell you? Only a poor farmer. Where did he say he lived, Nat?" "Tavia, you told Nat not to tell me." This is Dorothy saying it. She's recognised it. "Ha ha ha!" roared Nat. "Well, of all things, not to tell you. Well, I guess I will. Sit right down here, my little cuz, and I shall be delighted to tell you all I know." And at this he drew the almost exhausted girl down to sit on a tree stump to tell her. But Tavia kept close at the other side of the young man. She could nudge him if, well, of course, just to make the story funny. Perhaps. "Wanted a ride, that was all," declared Nat. "See, here we are. Here they are. We must not notice them as they pass." "Why?" asked Dorothy, but in answer Nat squeezed her hands so hard she knew he meant for her to keep quiet. Maybe they're a little bit out of sight where they're sitting. Maybe the guy can't see them in the dark. The car flew past. Ned never glanced at those by the roadside. and how strange he looked. "Oh, Nat!" almost screamed Dorothy. "That man had on striped clothes like—" "Queer kind of sweater. They come in all sorts of stripes," her cousin interrupted with a side glance at Tavia. "Remember the cartoons with the striped outfits of the convicts? I'm guessing that's what it's meant to be." "Oh, thank you, Dorothy, thank you. I do appreciate being a glorious cosmonaut." "Thank you very much." I'm going to not type to send you one in return, but you can type it for me. For yourself. Nat, no. But his leg was out of the car, and that was also striped. Yes, I noticed his suit was not exactly of the newest fall pattern, but there is no telling where a farmer may pick up his duds. Like as not, his wife made the trousers out of some good strong bed ticking. "Nat, you're trying to deceive me. That man is an escaped convict, and Ned is riding alone with him. Oh, what will become of us?" And tears welled in Dorothy's eyes. That outlet of the overstrained, a good cry, had come to her relief. "Oh, there," begged Nat. "Don't take on so. It'll be all right. Ned will be back for us before you have your eyes dry." And he kissed his little cousin affectionately. No, just as a cousin. "And it was that awful man out of jail. I knew it. I could tell him before he even got to the car. I can always tell when he's coming. Oh, suppose he should kill Ned." And she burst into a fresh flood of hysterical tears. Meanwhile, Tavia had not heard what had happened to induce Ned to take the convict away, for Anderson it was. Nat had told her it was that awful rascal when she cautioned him to hide it from Dorothy. Certainly it was all very strange and very dangerous. "I suppose we have to sit here and wait for Ned to come back," ventured Tavia. "Or else walk to meet him," suggested Nat, who was really anxious to do something besides sitting there listening to Dorothy cry. "Dry your tears, Dorothy," he said kindly, "and we'll walk along. It's pleasant and cool, and it will do us good to have a walk." "Can't we get back to Dalton this way?" asked Dorothy. "Isn't this the road we came out?" "It may be the road, but it is some miles from town," answered Nat. "Listen, what was that?" "The gong of an ambulance, it sounded like," exclaimed Tavia. "Hark!" "Again? No, it's not Christmas. These are not herald angels. That's the only way I know of that word being used." At that moment a wagon turned a corner and came toward them. It was a black wagon. Yes, it did look like an ambulance. "Oh!" shrieked Dorothy. "Whatever has happened now?" "Why, it's only a police patrol," answered Nat, trying to be indifferent about the matter. "Probably they're—" "Hello there, young fellow," called a man from the wagon. "Have you seen a fellow in stripes about these woods?" The speaker was addressing Nat, and he wore the uniform of a police officer. "Yes, we have," answered the young man, "and I can tell you all about him." The wagon came to a full stop now, and the officer stepped down from the seat at front, while simultaneously 2 other officers dropped from the step at the back, so that our friends suddenly became surrounded by bluecoats. "There," said Tavia, aside to Dorothy. "You are not afraid now, are you? We have enough protection at last." "Which way did he go?" asked the officer. "Straight for Danvers," answered Nat, "and in my brother's custody. We had to go to a shop to get a piece of the machine fixed and left these 2 young ladies alone here. When we returned, the fellow was in our auto. He'd taken possession of it and refused to give it up. We did everything to induce him, but he absolutely refused to leave and demanded a ride. So, recognising him from the description as the fellow who had escaped from Danvers, my brother decided there was nothing to do but give him a ride back to the jail." Which is okay until the guy realises that that's where you're going. "Well, he's a plucky lad, I must say," declared the officer spokesman. "That fellow's dangerous. He was just about to be committed to the asylum. He's a lunatic and should never have been in jail." "Oh," cried Dorothy, "if he should turn on Ned—" "Not the least danger as long as the lad humours him," said the officer. "We saw that," said Nat, "and my brother knows how to manage him, I guess." "And you are stalled now, can't get home until the machine comes back." Escaped from Danvers sounds like a good title in a series. It does indeed. Get writing. Start putting some notes down about what you want in it. And you're stalled now and can't get back home until that machine comes back? Asked one of the bluecoats, looking at Dorothy's pale face. I might walk, but the girls never could, answered Nat. Then suppose you go with us, suggested the officer, if the young ladies would not mind riding in a patrol. Oh, not at all, declared Tavia, but Dorothy looked askance at the wagon in which so many criminals had ridden from their freedom. No, they're not offering to lock you up, girl. The best thing we can do, said Nat, realising how much better any kind of ride would be than the uncertainty of waiting there as night came on. Jump in, then, invited the officer. We must be moving. I don't know what the captain will think of our prisoner coming up in an automobile in the wagon, bringing in this party. Up the back steps sprang Tavia, while Dorothy followed with less alacrity. It did not seem pleasant to get in the big, ugly black wagon. A girl of Dorothy's nature feels the mere touch of things tainted by real crime. I think the author is probably a little overstating the sentiment of the era. All right, asked Nat as he stepped in last. Yes, answered Dorothy timidly, taking her place on the leather seat. Isn't it too jolly? Burst out Tavia. I bet on the horse every time. Of course, the auto is delightful, but when night cometh on, get a horse, get a horse. So it's a wagon that's drawn by a horse-drawn wagon. And yes, they would have been clanging a bell or something like that, because that's what they used to use before sirens. In the early days of using cars for police transfer, where they had like a van back on them, like a closed-in wagon back with a vehicle cab at the front, the nickname for them in New Zealand was actually a Black Maria. I have no idea why. I don't know what it references, but it's just stuck in my head, and I need a mouthful of water. I don't know about you. We are all having some water now. So far, we haven't had mother time or school. Ah, that's better. So you need to have a drink too, and let me know you have. The horse is a good old standby, admitted Nat. But isn't this great, though? Riding into Dalton in the hurry-up wagon, and he joined Tavia in the laugh over their new adventure. But we must watch for Ned, spoke Dorothy. He might go back to that lonely place. I've told the officer at front to look out for him, remarked Nat. He has to come this way. And to think, whispered Dorothy, that the man was crazy and the officer said he should never have been in jail. Don't you worry about him, Nat told her. That fella has the faculty of making himself comfortable any place. Look at his nerve and the Firebird. That's the boys' car. We were lucky to have gotten away in time, reflected Tavia. We would scarcely have known how to entertain a lunatic. Oh, don't talk so, Dorothy checked her. I'm so nervous and so anxious about Ned. Now, Dorothy, declared Nat, Ned is certainly all right and will be the first person to meet us when we alight from this chariot. Thunder, but this is fun, because you don't usually get a free ride in the back of the police wagon unless you know that you're in big trouble for something. The officers outside were talking of the strange capture. A reward had been offered for the taking of the lunatic, for he had been at large for some days, and now the bluecoats had just missed the capture. While at the blacksmith's, Ned and Nat had heard of the escape of Anderson, and so recognised him at once when they encountered him in their car. I told you we would have 3 adventures, Tavia reminded Dorothy. And we're not home yet, added Nat, laughing. The wagon rattled on, now and then clanging its gong to warn mere people not to interfere with the law, to keep out of its way. We're in some village, said Dorothy, looking out the little glass window at the front and seeing street lights along the way. Presently a gang of urchins discovered the patrol wagon, and as the horses slowed up around a corner, the youngsters tried to get on the steps to catch a glimpse of the prisoners. Look at that, exclaimed Tavia, laughing. Wonder what they think we were taken up for? Oh, I feel so odd about it, said Dorothy, plainly discomfited. I wish we could get out. At that moment, the wagon sprang forward, the horses having been urged on, and before Nat had a chance to reply to Dorothy's wish, they were rattling on at greater speed than had been attained during the entire trip. To reach Danvers jail, the route was through Dalton, and now Tavia could see Dalton houses, Dalton churches, and there was the post office block. Surely the officer would not let them out right in the centre. She's going to feel so embarrassed getting out of the back of a police wagon in the middle of town. Everybody's going to think I've been a naughty person. That's what she's thinking. Here you are, called the man at front, while the wagon stopped and Nat saw they were in front of the bank, the most conspicuous spot in all Dalton. There was nothing for them to do but to alight, of course, and by the time the officers had vacated the back step and Nat put his foot on it, a crowd of people surrounded the wagon, waiting to see the prisoners get out. "Girls!" exclaimed the surprised crowd in chorus. "Tavia Travers!" declared one voice as Tavia showed her head. "And if it isn't Dorothy Dale, well, they're nice girls!" Came another sneer. "Talk about being good and always preaching." This was almost in Dorothy's ear. "I guess they'd better begin at home." Behaving themselves. Tears came to Dorothy's eyes. If her father were only here to take her hand. Could that be little Joe? "Dorothy, Dorothy," called a young voice. "Come this way. We've been down to the telegraph office," went on Joe. For Dorothy was beside him now. "Oh, he never had any idea you were in that wagon. Ned just got back. He was going out again to look for you." "Is Ned all right?" Dorothy managed to say, while Nat was thanking the officers who were in haste to be on their way again. "Oh, Joe, I think, is the guy who works at the newspaper office. Please excuse the childish voice then." "Oh, he's all right, but I guess he had an awful time. He was too hurried to tell us all about it, for he said he had to go back. There's his car now. Ned! Ned!" shouted Joe at the top of his voice, while Nat, seeing his brother at the same moment, gave his familiar whistle. Tavia had not yet been able to extricate herself from the crowd. Many of the boys recognised her, and she was plied with all kinds of curious questions. What had happened? Had they been arrested for speeding? Ned's presence in the automobile prompting this query. Or was someone hurt? In fact, there seemed to be no limit to the quality or quantity of questions that were being poured into Tavia's ears. But Tavia was not the sort of girl to make explanations under the circumstances. If friends, or those who appeared to be friends, could so easily lose all sympathy and become so annoyingly curious about her and Dorothy, why then, she declared to herself, and also made it plain to some of the boys, who were at liberty to tell the others, what really did happen was none of their business. In other words, if they really thought that the girls had done something wrong, that they would be in the back of the police wagon, you guys aren't the friends I thought you were. But unfortunately, there were in that crowd those too willing to draw their own conclusions. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Why do we have this go on? Every time. Oh my goodness. I'm going to be reading that information shortly because this is the end of the chapter. But unfortunately, there were in that crowd those too willing to draw their own conclusions, especially as regarded Dorothy Dale, a girl of whom so many had been jealous. Jealousy is not a good thing, is it? Dorothy was aware of some of the remarks made, but she little realised what a part the patrol wagon ride was to play in her life, nor how a girl who had observed her in the vehicle was to use that knowledge against her. That sounds rather ominous. That is, I think, what you call foreshadowing. Is it going to work? No, it's not. Let's try spelling it correctly. Still not. Oh, no, it is. Look, see? Foreshadowing. Right. So, that was the end of the chapter, by the way. So, Black Maria. A Black Maria is an historical term now considered slang for a police van or paddy wagon used to transport prisoners, a name believed to originate from the 19th century. While the exact origin is debated, a widely accepted theory suggests the term came from Maria Lee, a strong black woman who ran a boarding house in Boston and would often help police handle unruly sailors, leading to the police van being called a Black Maria in reference to her. The colour could also simply refer to the dark colour of the horse-drawn police wagons of the era, with the name Maria being a common name. Yes, it does look like Maria, but the way it was always pronounced in New Zealand is Mariah. They call the wind Mariah. There you go. That's what it sounds with. It rhymes with. No, it sounds the same as in New Zealand English. In New Zealand, we had some ones that were converted ambulances that were used as Black Marias. And the era ones that I'm thinking of, it was actually more like a station wagon ambulance. They didn't have the really tall vans that were more like a box shape back then. And so they would have something that was like a converted station wagon, but it had a higher than normal roof. Not full standing height, but you could sit up at full height and still actually be with your seat above the floor in the back. And so they were used as common ambulances in New Zealand for a number of years, and so the ones that were Black Marias from that era were ones that had been those ambulances, and then the front of the vehicle was painted in the standard black and white of a police car at the time, and then the back continued on with all black. And I think that was just to sort of like emphasize this is a Black Maria and it's for putting baddies in. But yeah, so there was enough room to sit in it at proper sitting, but not for standing. I don't know what we had in New Zealand before that, but that was what I remember them being called. So yeah, thank you for finding that too. Yeah, it's. I know at one stage the term was shunned because of the possibility of being associated with Maria Lee or Mariah Lee, the black woman, just because, we don't say black to mean race the same way. We don't tend to in New Zealand because we're all sorts of colours in New Zealand and they're just normal people. Whether they were born in New Zealand, whether they are generationally in New Zealand, whether they're new immigrants, whatever, we just don't. And we don't call them African Americans either because we're not America. So if we do have anyone who has an African background, we will refer to them as having an African background. But African American is specific to people who are from Africa originally and probably darker skinned, but they are in America. I actually heard someone telling an English person off for calling someone English with an African background. No, but he's African American. No, he's not. If you listen to the guy talking, newscaster, English newscaster. Very English accent. His family had been in England for generations. There's no way he was African American. His family had never been to America. And what's with it now being the US, not the USA? Is it no longer America? If they're going to call it the Gulf of America, because there are other countries that also have United States as one of their terminologies for the way they are made up because they are federation of states. USA doesn't own the use of the word US or the putting together of words to mean United States. It doesn't only mean America. Things that confuse me to do with words. I'm trying to think. I think there was another word that was confusing me recently. Anyway, so there you go. Thank you for looking that up. There's lots of other information. If you type in Black Maria, spelt Maria, as two words into Google, it will give you an AI overview which has links to the different articles it's pulled the information from. So yeah, I can even see a little thumbnail picture there of a horse-drawn one. So yeah, go and have a look at it for yourself. It's quite interesting. Often things like that will have a rather intriguing set of possibilities for what the background of a word or a phrase is. And it's worth having a bit of a look just to find out where they've come from, where the words have come from, what they're doing, that sort of thing. Anyway, so no way horses can't draw. Nice try. I keep going to push the button at the bottom. That's where it usually is on the iPad, but at the moment it's on the top because I'm charging it and I need more water. So let's have some from Time. So let's all have some water, folks. We're right at the part of the year where we're going from the coolness of winter to the warmth of summer, and it just changes through the day so much. It's not particularly amazingly wonderful. So you can get up in the morning and you think, oh, it's a bit cold today, so I'll put my thermals on, hence these grey things here. It's not like thermal underwear. It's actually stuff that you can wear like a skivvy or a lightweight sweater, but it's made out of merino wool. So it's comfortable against your skin, but it's not, oh, what's it called? It's comfortable against your skin. It doesn't get itchy. Right, let's carry on with reading. Yes, I did see Rocket there. That's meant to do an auto redeem. I'm going to have to get that set up so it'll automatically show that through StreamerBot. I should be able to do that, eh? I need to write that one down. I'm going to write it down now, and then we'll get on with reading the story. So, Rocket as a redeem in StreamerBot. Now that I've got it going, because when I first set it up, I had to do it manually. Right, here we go. We are reading the next chapter, which should be chapter 6, I think. Chapter 6, A Ride and Its Consequences. Oh dear. Don't like the sound of that. Mrs. Winthrop White was talking earnestly to her brother, Major Dale. Mrs. Winthrop White is the boy's mother. Her brother is Major Dale, who is Dorothy's dad. She had come in from the Cedars the morning after the memorable ride in the Firebird and was now in the Major's study discussing the situation with Dorothy's father. "But the child has had so many shocks lately, brother," said Mrs. White. "It does seem the only practical plan is to remove her entirely from these surroundings. Of course, it will be hard for you to let her go away, but you must remember Dorothy has always been a little overstrained with care for one of her years, and now that your means will allow it, she should have every possible advantage to make up for what she may have lost in the way of nerve force." "Oh, I am sure you know, sister," replied the Major. "I would not deprive the child of anything she should have, no matter what it would cost me in money or the loss of her company. She has certainly been my little captain, for I can always depend upon her to keep the young troopers in line. But why remain here at all? You can give up business now. Do, brother, come and make your home with me. I really need you so often when I have no one to advise with about the boys, and Joe and Roger would be so much better off with me to look after them. Mrs. Martin has done wonderfully well for her years, but she is no longer able to see to them properly. Just give up this place and come to the Cedars," urged Mrs. White. "She's a rich widow." "I would not know how to leave dear old Dalton or my newspaper," mused the Major. "Of course you are very good to think of bothering with another family. Most women think one family enough to bring up." "Indeed, I need something to do," argued the sister, "and Roger would be a perfect treat to me. He's such a darling. Joe will go to school, of course," already taking it for granted that her invitation would be accepted, "but I would have Roger taught at home for this year. He is too young to mix up with all the others." "I'm sure it would be good for the children," And for yourself, why, you are not too old to enjoy your life. The idea of a man of less than 50 years considering himself old. And Mrs. White laughed in that captivating manner of hers that had so often won her cause when all other arguments failed. And that school you speak of for Dorothy, the one in the mountains of New England, what did you call it? The Glenwood School, replied the Major. Finally, we have heard of the actual place that's in the title. And the word school, which I just read, which is this bottle here. Yes, you can kind of see it through the tape. Right, here we go. We're all drinking for the word school. And I'll leave that over there. Mrs. Pangborn, who conducts it, is an old friend of mine, and if I should trust Dorothy with anyone, it would be Louise Pangborn, for she knew Dorothy's mother and would be sure to take an interest in her daughter. The very thing! Capital! Exclaimed Mrs. White enthusiastically. Now, if you're wondering why they both have a very similar accent but different pitch, it's because they're brother and sister. They've been brought up in the same household with probably the same accents from their parents and those surrounding them. And Dorothy's just a kid, so I don't worry about it. We must make arrangements at once. There is little time left before the term opens. Dear me, brother, some women may like to idle, but give me a girl to dress up for school, perhaps because I have never had the joy of doing it for my own daughter. I so love to take up Dorothy and experiment upon her. No girl at school shall be better equipped than Dorothy Dale. Now take care, sister. We are plain folks, you know. Not one whit plainer than your sister Ruth. I shall only get Dorothy things that befit her station. In fact, the best-dressed girls do not, by any means, have more clothes than others. They simply have what is needed. Oh, I know, I can depend upon you, Ruth, only I also know you think Dorothy a wonderfully pretty and attractive girl, and one who must wear the right kind of clothes. There, I feel I am looking through the shops now. I must admit I have a weakness for pretty things, whether girls or their dresses, because she's only got boys, she's only got sons herself. So she's looking forward to having a girl to spoil. Oh yes, strange I should have so lately received a letter from Mrs. Pangborn inquiring about Dorothy, remarked the Major. I have it some place, and he pulled a packet of papers from his desk, soon finding the one he wanted. There, he went on, glancing over the missive, Louise says she has now 2 assistants, a Miss Crane and a Miss Higley. Excuse me. Might I see the letter? Asked Mrs. White, already assuming the mother part toward Dorothy, and feeling it her duty to know all she might be able to find out concerning the woman to whom Dorothy would be entrusted. Why, certainly, replied the Major, handing her the letter. She glanced over the paper. There, she said presently, smiling, I fancy I see Miss Crane, whom Mrs. Pangborn describes as being such a favourite with the girls, and the other, Miss Higley, her name is enough. She must be the sort of teacher who does good work in classes, but seems to put a damper on the girls' pranks. Of course, such a person is always valuable in a boarding school, and she handed back the paper. But what a lot of trouble they can make. I went to a boarding school myself, you know, and I know and remember all about the Miss Higleys. Are we going to find out that the 2 women are the opposite? Then you think it would be a good plan to send Dorothy to Glenwood? And the Major's voice showed that he looked favourably upon the proposition. Hang on, I need to find out who's saying that. Yes. Glenwood School in the mountains of New England. I can see the tags on Dorothy's trunks, she replied merrily. Nothing could be better, and that splendid mountain air. Why, you won't know the child when she comes home for her holiday, but I am going to write this very morning. Or will you do it? And I will write in reply to the next. Yes, I think that would be better. And now I am going right up to Dorothy and tell her all about it. The girl had such a headache from her experiences yesterday that I insisted upon her lying down. Wasn't that the most absurd thing for those children to ride to town in the police patrol? The boys will never stop talking about it, and Tavia Travers thinks it's a joke. The joke of her life, but Dorothy is not keen on that sort of jokes. She does not relish the curiosity which the incident has stirred up. I could see that this morning when those school friends were talking it over with her. Dorothy is a very sensitive girl. All fine natures are sensitive, Alan. They neither offend nor relish being offended. It is perfectly natural that the child should resent such remarks as some of those I have heard passed about the patrol ride. Of course, they only came from children, apologised the Major, and youngsters will have their say. Yes, but sometimes the say of jealous young girls may go a long way. A jealous girl is, I believe, even a more dangerous enemy than a woman scorned, about whom so much is written and said. But I am sure Dorothy can hold her own in spite of any girl. Why had Mrs. White been so apprehensive about the small talk she had overheard? What could one say against Dorothy Dale? More foreshadowing, I think. That afternoon, a school friend called on Dorothy and brought with her a young girl who'd been spending part of her vacation at the McAllister home. She was introduced as Miss Viola Green of Dunham, and while rather a pretty girl, she had something in her manner that made Dorothy feel uncomfortable. This unaccountable dislike on Dorothy's part was heightened when Tavia went over to the veranda where the girls were sitting, and upon Alice introducing Tavia to her friend, the latter merely bowed stiffly and refused to accept the hand that Tavia had offered in greeting. This was all the more strange since Alice was so splendid a girl herself. But Viola Green had made a serious mistake in refusing to accept the honest hand of Tavia Travers. Although, strange to say, the incident was a most fortunate happening as far as Tavia and Dorothy were concerned. It told them the type of girl Viola was. Alice, seeing the slight, winked slyly at Tavia, who, after flushing furiously, managed to return the secret sign of Alice by snapping her own brown eye open and shut. So Alice was aware of it and thought it was a little bit odd, and acknowledged that to Tavia, rather than going along with this other girl. "I simply thought I should die," began Alice, anxious to start conversation, "when I saw you step out of that wagon last night. Viola and I were just down to the post office, and when the crowd gathered, of course, we had to see what was going on. Well, when I saw Tavia—" A burst of laughter stopped Alice. She had a way of seeing humour in things, and of enjoying the process of extracting it. Tavia joined her in the merriment, but Viola sat there with a curled lip. Dorothy was not laughing either. She was observing the stranger. "Wasn't it great?" exclaimed Tavia. "I wish she could have been along. Dorothy was scared to death, but the very idea of anyone being afraid while surrounded by 4 strapping policemen. And when your cousin came into the post office to send his telegram to his mother, wasn't it? And we beheld a dude in overalls and jumper, and the cousin who was dressed in the farmer's clothes because he'd fallen in the mud, remember?" And Alice laughed again. "Really," she continued finally, "I thought I should pass away." "Was that your cousin?" asked Viola unpleasantly. "Why, Ola!" exclaimed Alice, the ring of something like anger in her voice. "I certainly told you the young man was Mr. Nat White from North Birchland, Dorothy's cousin." "Oh," sniffed the other, "I'm sure I thought you said he was Tavia's cousin, because he's wearing farmer's clothes." Ooh. We all hope she gets her comeuppance. "That's good," chimed in Tavia. "Wish he was. He would make all kinds of nice cousins, for he is the dandiest boy." "So," almost sneered Viola. "Yes, that's so," declared Tavia with a challenging look at the stranger. "Viola thinks nice boys should not be cousins," remarked Alice. trying to patch up the squabble, but Dorothy had risen from her seat and was toying with the honeysuckle. Evidently she had no intention of joining in the unpleasant argument. "I declare, Doro," said Alice suddenly, "I've scarcely heard your voice today, and all the stories that I have been contradicting about you, that you were hurt in an auto accident, that your chauffeur was arrested for speeding, and that you were obliged to go to police court to make a statement, that some lunatic chased you, and you had to get in the wagon to save your life. Oh, I tell you, Doro, you never know how popular you are until you take a ride in the hurry-up wagon. I would have given my new dog, and I love him dearly, to have been in that tally-ho with you." And Alice threw her arms about Dorothy, whose face she could not help observing was white and strained. "Certainly was an experience," admitted Dorothy, joining the group again. "But what in the world makes you act like such a funeral?" Alice blurted out. "I've just heard something that makes me serious," answered Dorothy. "I may as well tell you now. I'm going away to boarding school." "This term?" exclaimed Viola before either Alice or Tavia had time to speak. "What's it to her, and why should she be asking?" "Certainly," said Dorothy, coolly. "Why not?" "Oh, nothing, of course," returned Viola. "Only after yesterday folks might think, oh, you know, country folks can never understand the trick of deciding things quickly." "You had not thought of it, of going away before, had you? It's not like Dorothy's the one who makes these decisions. Usually it's the parents." Dorothy was too indignant to speak. Whatever could the girl mean by such insinuations? Even Alice seemed dumbfounded, and Tavia positively dangerous. She walked straight up to the chair Viola occupied. "Miss Green," she called, "after yesterday, as you express it, is precisely the same as before yesterday. To all concerned, the experiences were unusual." "I should think so," the stranger had the temerity to remark, but Alice had risen to go, while Viola stepped down from the porch without offering a word of apology or explanation. "And where are you going, Dorothy dear?" asked Alice tenderly, trying to undo the harm that her visitor had been so successful in creating. "To the Glenwood School in the mountains of New England, I believe," answered Dorothy. "Indeed," spoke Miss Green again. "That is where I attend. How strange we should meet just before the term opens." And she smiled the same unpleasant smile that had chilled Dorothy when Alice introduced them. "You do?" exclaimed Tavia rudely. Then she added, "Dorothy Dale, who told you you could go away to school? You have not asked my permission yet." "To the mountains of New England? I would like to see you run away and leave me." "It would be unpleasant indeed," called back Viola. "You'd better come to Glenwood too." "Maybe I will," snapped Tavia. "One thing is certain, Dorothy Dale will have friends wherever she goes, and if I could go, I would be most happy to look on while she reaps her new conquests. Dorothy is a regular winner, Miss Green. You'll have to look out if she goes to Glenwood. She will cut you out with your best friends. She always makes one fell swoop of the entire outfit." That sounds like fighting words to me. A look of deep scorn was the answer Viola made to Tavia's attempt at raillery. Evidently she had made up her mind that Dorothy Dale would never cut her out at Glenwood. And Mrs. White had remarked to her brother, Major Dale, that a jealous girl was a dangerous enemy. Oh dear. End of chapter. How's it going to go? Oh my goodness. It's not going well. I did say last time that the previous book was a little bit more exciting than most of the girls' books have been so far of this era. Seems like we're going to have a bit more of it. Here we go. Chapter 7, Tavia's Danger. "Whatever can that girl mean?" exclaimed Dorothy when Alice and Viola had passed down walked down the footpath to the street. "Mean? The meanest thing I ever met. Did you see her refuse my hand?" asked Tavia. "Well, it's a good thing to be able to size up a girl like that at the first meeting. It saves complications. But who cares for green violets? What I want to know is, are you really going away, Doro?" And the look on Tavia's face could not be mistaken. She would be dreadfully grieved if compelled to part with Dorothy's companionship. Aunt Winnie thinks I should go, and Father has decided it's best. Of course I shall hate to leave you, Tavia, and Dorothy wound her arm affectionately around her friend. In fact, I shall never, never find any girl to take your place in my heart. And something very like tears came into Dorothy's voice. I don't know if the adults actually realised just how much support they lend each other. I knew it. I just knew you would go away when you got that hateful Indian money. And what in the world will I ever do in Dalton? Now I've learned how much pleasure I could have visiting your friends and riding in automobiles, and then just when I get to realising what a good time we could have, you up and leave me. I might have known better than to go out of my own limits, the normal run-of-the-mill life she has. And here Tavia actually burst into tears, a most remarkable thing for her to do. I am so sorry, said Dorothy with a sigh, putting her arm around the weeping girl. There, what a goose I am. Of course I would not have done differently if I could do it all over again. The good times we have had are the most precious spots in my life, and Doro, dear, you did not drag me out of my shell. I was always running after you for that matter, so you need not think the loneliness will be any fault of yours, except that you are such a dreadfully dear girl that no one could help loving you. You really should try to curb that fault. Tavia had dried her tears. She was that sort of girl who was both too proud and too brave to show the white feather, as she often expressed the failing of giving away to emotion that might distress others. I like that it's put that way, emotion that might distress others. Not giving way to emotion, but where it's going to cause distress. I do wish you'd go along, said Dorothy. Well, I don't believe I would really like to go. Doro, Tavia was surprised her by saying, I would probably get into all kinds of scrapes with that green violet, and the scrapes would likely make it unpleasant for you. Besides, I've been thinking I ought to go to work. I'm old enough to do something. 15 next month, you know, and I would just like to get right out into the world. Go with the tide. Tavia! Exclaimed Dorothy in alarm, for these rash sentiments had of late been strangely common with Tavia. She's probably thinking she needs to earn her way now to help support her family, her parents and her brothers and sisters. I don't know, I can't remember how many she's got. You do not know what you're talking about. Go with the tide? Yes, I just mean take my chances with other girls. I had a letter from a girl in Rochester the other day. She'd got work and she's no older than I am. At what? Asked Dorothy. On the stage. She's going to take part in some chorus work. Not really what most parents want their kids to do. Tavia, dear, cried Dorothy, you must not get letters from such girls. On the stage? Why, that is the most dangerous work any girl could possibly get into. Just remember, these are written for girls, not adults. So it's probably not going to go somewhere that would otherwise go in the story. Now, Doro, I have not got the place, worse luck, and you must not take on so just because I happen to mention the matter. But you must realise there's a vast difference between poor girls like me and those in your station in life. What had come over Tavia lately? Why did she so dwell upon the difference between Dorothy's means and her own? Because she doesn't have the opportunities that Dorothy has. But Dorothy hasn't recognised that as strongly yet. Was it a natural pride or a peculiar unrest? That unrest, perhaps, that so often leads others who are older, stronger, and wiser than Tavia Travers into paths not the most elevating. And then they may urge the excuse that the world had been hard on them, that they could not find their place in life, when in reality they scorned to take the place offered them, and instead of trying for a better or higher mark, they deliberately refuse the prospects held out and turn backward. Then blame the world. This condition is called social unrest, and Tavia Travers, though young and inexperienced, was having a taste of its bitter moral poison. Part of it is also like you don't want to be always taking from people, as in people are offering to help you and you feel like you're on the receiving end of their charity, you know, so like you're just a place for people to feel good about themselves because they're handing out to you. And you don't want that if you've grown up being poor. Promise me you'll never write another letter to that girl, begged Dorothy solemnly. I know your father would not permit it, Tavia, and I know such influence is dangerous. Why, the idea. You should have read her letter, Doro. She says the killingest things, but mercy, I must go. I have to go to the Green before tea. And with a reassuring kiss, Tavia darted off. Go to the Green? It's capitalised, so is she talking about that girl Viola? Dorothy looked after her friend as she skipped down the path, and a sense of dread, of strange misgivings, took possession of her. What if Tavia should actually run away as she'd often threatened in jest? Then Dorothy remembered how well Tavia danced, how she had practised the stage fall after seeing the play in Rochester, and how little Johnny Travers had barely escaped the falling ceiling that came down with Tavia's attempt at tragedy. Then, too, Dorothy thought of the day Tavia had painted her cheeks with mullein leaves. I think it's mullein leaves, and how Dorothy then remarked in alarm, "Tavia, you look like an actress." How strangely bright Tavia's eyes seemed that day, how wonderfully pretty her short bronze locks fell against her unnaturally red cheeks. All this now flashed through Dorothy's dazed brain. How could she leave Tavia? And yet she would so soon have to go away to that far-off school. And that strange girl who'd come with Alice, what could she have meant by those horrid insinuations to Dorothy about Dorothy, so suddenly making up her mind to go to boarding school, and that it would be too bad to leave Tavia alone in Dalton just then. As if everyone did not know by this time just what had happened on the auto ride, and that Ned had actually been offered the reward for the capture of Anderson. Not only this, but her two cousins, Ned and Nat, had received public praise for brave conduct, and the two girls whose names were not mentioned, Major Dale had asked the reporter to omit them, if possible, from the report, were also spoken of as having taken part in the capture, inasmuch as they allowed Anderson to remain quietly in the car until the young owners of the machine arrived upon the scene. They hadn't tried to scare him off. Dorothy sat there thinking it all over. It was almost dusk, and on the little vine-clad porch the shadows of the honeysuckle shifted idly from Dorothy's chair to the block of sunshine that was trying so bravely to keep the lonely girl company. Every other ray of sunlight had vanished, but that gleam seemed to stay with Dorothy. She did not fail to observe this, as she always noticed every kindness shown her, and she considered the ray of light as being very significant in the present rather gloomy situation. But I must not mope, Dorothy told herself presently. I simply must talk the whole thing over with Auntie Winnie. How much better for Tavia it would have been had she too determined to talk the whole thing over with someone of experience. Oh dear. Dorothy found her aunt busy writing the boarding school letters, and when that task had been finished, Mrs. White was entirely at the girl's service. Dorothy tried to unfold to her the situation without putting unnecessary blame on Tavia, who was such a jolly girl and so absolutely free from dread, never had been known to be afraid of anything. Dorothy declared, and of course had never been known to be afraid of anything, Dorothy declared, and of course there was therefore all the more reason to be worried about her risks. To Tavia, a risk was synonymous with sport. It was a very complicated sentence. Sorry, and my brain just went sideways halfway through it. I had no idea she would be interested in that sort of thing, said Mrs. White, referring to the matter of going on the stage. And perhaps Dorothy. But I'm not at all sure that she's interested in it, Auntie. Yes, definitely, what was I doing? Dorothy interrupted. I'm only afraid she may get more letters from that girl, and besides I will be so lonely without her, and I know she will miss me. Well there, little girl, said the aunt, kissing Dorothy's cheek. You take things too seriously. We will see what can be done. I, too, like Tavia. She is an impulsive girl, but as good as gold, and I will always be interested in her welfare. Thank you, Auntie dear. You're so kind and so generous. It would seem enough to be bothered with me, but to give you further trouble with my friends. Nonsense, my dear. It is no trouble whatever. I heartily enjoy having your confidences, and you may rest assured very little harm will come to the girl who chooses a wise woman for her adviser. And I do hope, Dorothy, I am wise in girls' ways, if not in points of law, as your dear father always contends. And Auntie, went on Dorothy rather timidly, I want to tell you something else. Alice McAllister brought a girl to visit me this afternoon, and she said such strange things about yesterday's accidents. She was positively disagreeable. Yes. Come on. Here. Turn round. Yes. I heard you saying hello. Look. He was saying hello to me. Now he's saying hello to you. Are you purring? Would you like to sit on your chair and have some treats? Yeah. Come on then. We'll put you on your seat. Treat seat. That's it. Good boy. Sit. Sit. Hang on. Yes, definitely. Goriki says that you are a glowing puppy. Yes, you're a glowing puppy. Hang on. I'll get these and I'll that's the one I wanted. Where is it? Cat treat. Yes, I'm redeeming it. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hope that camera's going to start sometime soon. Because it should have started. Oh, there it is. Yes. Stay. 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 You have to wait so I can give it to you. Sit. Good boy. There you go. And one more. There you go. Good boy. Oh, that was lovely. Lovely. He's a lovely boy. Are you going to lie down now? Good boy. You can lie down now. That would be nice. You can just snuggle up. Oh, I didn't realise he was at quite that high. There you go. There's Theo. He's a lovely boy. Yeah. Oh, and he's looking at you. Right, let's carry on. And she said such strange things about yesterday's accidents. She was Bye. She was positively disagreeable. You are too sensitive, child. Of course people will say strange things every time they get a chance. Some people. But you must not bother your pretty head about such gossip. When you do what is right, good people will always think well of you. And after all, their opinion is all that we really care for, isn't it? But why should she be so rude? She's a perfect stranger to me. Some girls think it is smart to be rude, Dorothy. What did she say that troubled you so? That's precisely it, Auntie. No one could repeat her remarks. Oh, my goodness. They were merely insinuations and depended upon the entire conversation for their meaning. I don't like those sort. It's usually someone who's very devious and has ways of twisting words around when they do those sort of ones. Yeah, not good. Insinuations, perhaps, that you had been arrested for stealing melons? And the aunt laughed at the idea. Well, my dear, I believe it will be well for you to be away from all this country gossip. But Viola Green goes to Glenwood School, declared Dorothy. No, really? Who is she? A friend of Alice McAllister from Dunham. I was so surprised when she said she went to Glenwood. But, my dear, what will that matter? There are many girls at Glenwood. All you will have to do is to choose wisely in selecting your friends from among them. Don't think it works quite like that. bullying at boarding school? No. If Tavia were only with me, I would not need other friends, demurred Dorothy. Does she want to go? Asked Mrs. White, suddenly. I believe she does, but she denies it. I think she does that because she does not want me to bother about her. She's such a generous girl, Auntie, and dislikes anyone fussing over her. There's a step on the porch, and both listened. Yes, continued Mrs. White, that's Tavia looking for you. Run down to her, and I will speak with both of you before she leaves. Chapter 8. Let's have a mouthful of water. And we have had the word, this is the wrong one, because we've had the word school a couple of times, because it was Glenwood School. 1, 2, there you go. Chapter 8, yes. An inverted joke, that's what it's called. Dorothy, called Tavia, come here just a minute, I want to speak to you. Won't you come in? Asked Dorothy, making her way to the side porch. No, I can't, really, but I couldn't wait to tell you. I know what the green violet meant by her mean remarks, and it's too killing. I'm just dead laughing over it. I'm glad it's funny, said Dorothy. The funniest ever, continued Tavia. You know, when we got out of the wagon, Miss Green was standing a little way off from Alice. That dude, Tom Burbank, was with her. They say she always manages to get a beau. And she was watching us alight. You know how she can watch like a cat. Well, Tom asked Nat what was the matter and if he had been speeding. Everybody seemed to know we'd gone off in the auto, for which blessing I am duly grateful. I don't often get a ride. Tavia, will you tell me the story? Asked Dorothy with some impatience. Coming to it, my dear, but I never knew you to be so keen on a common everyday story before, answered Tavia with provoking delay. The remarks? Oh, yes, as I was saying, Tom asked Nat, were we speeding, and Nat said no. Then looking down at his farmer's clothes, he added, not speeding, just melons. And the dude believed him. The goose! Then Viola took it all in, and she too thinks we were arrested for stealing muskmelons. The idea seemed so absurd to Tavia that she went off in a new set of laughs, knotted together with groans. She had laughed so long that the process became actually painful. Who told you? Asked Dorothy, as soon as Tavia had quieted herself sufficiently to hear anything. May Egner. She stood by and heard the whole thing. But you must not mention it to Alice, cautioned Tavia, for she didn't hear it, and I just want the green violet to think it's true, every word. It's a positive charity to give that girl something definitely mean to think about. I can see her mental picture of you and Nat and myself standing in a police court pleading guilty to being caught in a melon patch. Wish we had thought of it. There were plenty along that road, and I've not tasted a fresh muskmelon since I stole the last one from the old Garabrandt place. But that was good. Well, I am glad it is no worse, remarked Dorothy. I had a suspicion she was trying to insinuate something like that, and the idea of her not believing that Nat was my cousin. Oh, yes, and that was more of it, went on Tavia. Tom asked Nat if I was his cousin, and he said yes. Wasn't Nat funny to tease so? But who could blame him? I wish I had a chance to get my say in. I would have given Greenie a story. Not only melons, but a whole farm for mine. Luckily, you were otherwise engaged then. I noticed you had your hands full answering the questions of that crowd of small boys, remarked Dorothy, smiling at the remembrance of Tavia's struggle with the curious ones. But Doro, are you really going away? And Tavia's voice assumed a very different tone. It was mournful indeed. Me? Yes, I think it's quite decided. I would not mind so much if you were coming. Me? Poor me? No boarding school for my share. They do not run in our family, and she sighed. But perhaps your fairy godmother might help you, went on Dorothy. She has granted your wishes before. Yes, and I promised her that time I would never trouble her again. There is a limit, you know, even to fairy godmothers. At that moment, Mrs. White appeared on the porch. What was it that I heard about godmothers? She asked. You know, Dorothy, I hold that sacred position towards you, and you must not let anyone malign the title," she said laughingly. "Oh, this was the fairy kind," replied Dorothy. "Tavia was just saying she'd promised to let hers off without further requests after the last was granted." "Oh, you're back again. Are you asking for more treats?" "No, you don't get more treats. You don't get them that often. But you can sit on my knee and listen while we read a story. There you go. Yeah." "When Dora goes away to school," interrupted Tavia, "I shall either become a nun or—" "Go with her. How would that do?" asked Mrs. "Go with her. How would that do?" asked Mrs. White, convinced that the parting of Dorothy and Tavia would mean a direct loss for both. "If I work this year and earn the money to go next, or do they consider the wage-earning class debarred from boarding school society?" asked Tavia. Again, the sentiment Tavia had expressed to Dorothy, the difference in the classes. This was becoming a habit to Tavia, the habit of almost sneering at those who appeared better off than herself, and yet, as Mrs. White scrutinized her, she felt it was not a sentiment in any way allied to jealousy, but rather regret. Or the sense of loss, that the lot of Tavia Travers had been cast in a different mould to that of Dorothy Dale. It had to do entirely with Tavia's love for Dorothy. Hello, lovely. You can't quite see him, I'm sorry, but he's sitting on my knee, leaning against my hand because I'm scratching the back of his neck. "Now, my dear," began Mrs. White, addressing Tavia, "you really must not speak that way. You know there is a class of people too prominent nowadays who believe that the rights of others should be their rights, that there should be no distinction in the ownership of property." "Glorioticious!" exclaimed Tavia. "Do you suppose they would let me in their club? I'll tell you, girls," said Mrs. White. "Squire Travers is going to call here this evening by appointment, and if you are both very, very good little girls, perhaps I will have some very important news for you in the morning." Squire Travers is Tavia's father. At this, both Tavia and Dorothy took steps, Tavia doing some original dance, while Dorothy was content to join in the swing that her partner so violently insisted upon taking at every turn. Mrs. White laughed merrily at seeing the girls dance there in the honeysuckle-lined porch, and she was now more positive than ever that their companionship should not be broken. "All hands around," called Tavia, at which invitation the stately society lady could not refrain from joining in the dance herself, and she went round and around until it was Dorothy who first had to give in and begged to be let out of the ring, so they're dancing round in circles. "Oh," sighed Mrs. White, quite exhausted, "that is the best real dance I have had in years, quite like our dear old German." "They call it the Virginia Reel in Dalton," said Tavia, not meaning to deprecate the value of the society dance mentioned. "Yes, and that is its correct name too," agreed Mrs. White, "for almost all good figures of the German were taken from the old-time country dance. But I am warm. I must go in at once, or I may check this perspiration too quickly." She doesn't like sweating. I think that's what she's trying to say. "Dorothy, don't walk too far with Tavia," she remarked as both girls prepared to leave the porch. "I have some little things to talk over before tea." "Only to the turn," replied Dorothy, with her arm wound lovingly around Tavia. "I just want to finish about something very important." "She must go with Dorothy," said Mrs. White to herself, watching the two girls make their way through the soft autumn twilight. There you go, that's the end of that chapter. Right, chapter 9, Committee Arrangements. "Isn't it too delicious?" exclaimed Tavia excitedly. "Delightful," answered Dorothy. "I hope hereafter you will never doubt the goodness of your fairy godmother, or that of my fairy godsister," added Tavia. "And Aunt Winnie is to do all your shopping. Your mother asked her to get everything you will need. The money you received from the railroad company for the loss of your hair in the accident has been put aside by your father for your education, so you cannot longer boast of that romantic poverty you've been holding over my poor innocent head." And Dorothy gave her friend a knowing squeeze, that kind of embrace that only girl friends can understand fully. I can scarcely realise it, pondered Tavia. Not to have you leave me here all alone. Why, Doro, I could not sleep at night worrying about what would become of me in this hamlet without you. And I was equally tortured with worries about what would become of me when I could not tell you all of my troubles, especially when I thought of having to fight the green violet alone. I don't blame you, but I'm just dying to know what use she will make of the muskmelon story. I met Alice yesterday and she felt dreadfully about the way Viola acted. She's coming over to apologise to you as soon as she can do so without carting the vegetable along. Pity they did not name her Cucumber instead of Violet. The green would match her better. I'm going to call her Cuke hereafter, short for cucumber, you know. Oh, that would be unkind, objected Dorothy. Unkind nothing, replied the impulsive one. I wish I could think of a good rhyme for her new name. I would pass it around. Now, Tavia, you must not keep me worrying about the mischievous things you intend to do at Glenwood. Remember, that is one of the stipulations. You're to be very, very good. I feel a sore spot under my shoulder blade now, declared Tavia, putting her hand back. Wings as sure as you live. Just feel. But do you realise it? We have only this week. We must be in Glenwood next Monday. All the better. I cannot wait. Won't it be too glorious? And Tavia again indulged in steps, her favourite outlet for pent-up sentiment. The boys are coming over tomorrow afternoon, announced Dorothy. I had a note from Ned this morning. Goody, exclaimed Tavia, coming to a full stop with a twirl that stood for the pedal period. Another ride? No, I'm afraid not. Ned said he and Nat were going to spend the afternoon with us. Please don't stand on the keyboard. No, please don't stand on the keyboard. I don't want you turning something off accidentally. Are you going to sit on there, are you? Somebody's sitting on my keyboard, on my mouse tray. I'll put the mouse there and the keyboard there. Hello. Almost need to have a little wee stand for him right here. Yes. No, I'm afraid not. Ned said he and Nat were going to spend the afternoon with us. Well, it will be fun anyway. It always is when the boys get jollying. I'm afraid I do love boys. Next to you, Doro, I think a real nice boy is the very nicest human possible. Next to me? On the other side, you mean? No, on the second side. The boy is on the outside of the argument. You're always first, Doro. Meanwhile, the news that Dorothy and Tavia were to leave Dalton for a school in New England had spread among their former school companions. Alice McAllister, Sarah Ford, May Egner, and a number of others had held a little consultation over the matter and decided that some sort of testimonial should be arranged to give their friends a parting acknowledgement of the regard and esteem in which Dalton schoolgirls held Tavia Travers and Dorothy Dale. Of course, Tavia was never as popular as Dorothy had always been. She was too antagonistic and insisted upon having too much fun at the expense of others. But now that she was leaving them, the girls admitted that she had been a jolly good fellow, and they would surely miss her mischief, if nothing more. May Egner wanted the committee of arrangements to make the affair a linen shower, such as brides are given. Boring. Because, argued the practical May, it will be so nice to have a lovely lot of handkerchiefs and collars. No one can have too many. Well, we can include the shower if you like, said Alice, who was chairman, but I vote for a lawn party with boys invited. Oh, hi, Coleslaw. Time for the wheel of haphazard. And what is it going to give us apart from Theo trying to eat my nose and my hand? Butterflies. Stay. Here's butterflies. No, not for you to play with. For me to wear. Yes, for me to wear. He's not used to being on my desk like that. Let's find egg timer. There it is. Turn on egg timer. and start it. Oh, you're a funny one, Theo. Let's carry on. A lawn party with boys, chorused the majority in enthusiastic approval. I think it would be a charity to let the Dalton boys come to something, declared Sarah Ford. And if we leave them out all the time, by and by when we want someone to take us home on a dark night... Hang on, I'm just going to take the cushion out because it makes the seat too high. I hope someone doesn't take a swipe at me. Hello. Very serious look, straight in the eyes. Oh, goodness me. When you stay chinning too long with Roberta, interrupted a girl who knew Sarah's weakness for dragging along the way. Well, you may be out in the dark sometime yourself, Nettie, and it is very nice to have a nice boy. Order, called the chairman. We have voted to invite them and... Yes, he is a very serious cat at times, a lot of the time. It's up to them, persisted Nettie Niles, who, next to Tavia Travers, had the reputation and privilege of using more slang than any other well-bred girl in Dalton. So apparently saying something like, it's up to them, was considered a bit more slang. I think he's looking at the movement on the different monitors. Hello? Oh, you're off. Okay, bye. He's gone out the door. That was a bonus, wasn't it? Now I can put my mouse back where it belongs. Where is it? It is to be a lawn party then, declared the chairman with befitting dignity. And we have only one day to arrange the whole thing. Just slip in meow when it fits. Oh, okay. I'll collect the boys, meow, volunteered the irrepressible Nettie. Then you are appointed to a committee of one to invite all the nice boys in the meow first class, said Alice, much to the surprise of the joker. And not any other, meow? Pouted Nettie. If I should run across a real nice meow little fellow with light curly hair and pale pink cheeks and meow, new tennis suit, suggested someone who had seen Nettie walking home with a boy of the tennis suit description. Oh, yes, agreed the chairman, meow. I forgot to include Charlie, meow. He's not now at Dalton School, but of course, Nettie, meow, you may invite Charlie. Meow. Thanks, said Nettie, determined not to be abashed by the teasing. Chairman, meow. Yes, definitely. We will have cake and lemonade and meow, proposed May Egner. I'm glad I only have to bring boys. And meow, said Nettie aside. I couldn't bake a cake to save meow. And I'll bring a whole pan of fresh taffy, volunteered Sarah. Meow. Wow. Put me down for 2 dozen lemons, offered May Egner, who seemed to think the entire success of a lawn party depended upon the refreshing lemonade. Where shall we have it? Asked Alice. Where, meow? The girls glanced around at the splendid lawn upon which the little meeting was being held. It was the McAllister Meow place and had the reputation of being well kept, besides affording a recreation ground for the family. The secret of the combination lay in the extent of the grounds. They might be meowed upon, but were never trampled upon. Mr. McAllister made it a rule that games should be kept to their restricted provinces, as the tennis court and croquet grounds. Other games should never be indulged in on the range close to the house or near the paths. Plenty of room to play tag in the orchard, he would tell the children, and this plan kept the place in an enviable condition. The schoolyard is awfully dry and dusty, remarked Nettie in answer to the question of a site for the party. You're welcome to come here, said Alice, meowdistly. Oh, that would be splendid, declared Meow May. Whereat all the others voiced similar sentiments, and I think that's the end of the meows, by the way. It was promptly decided that the invitation to hold the affair on the McAllister grounds should be accepted with thanks, and as there remained not many hours of the day to attend to arrangements, as the next afternoon would bring them to the test, the girls hastily scattered to begin. Oh, you did manage a clip. Well done. I'm going to pause here for a moment. I don't know if anyone, apart from whoever was here right at the very beginning, knows, but hang on. Let's go back. That one. At the moment, this is just here for illustrative purposes. You can get yourself a chat badge, possibly, by clipping and sharing to various social media locations. Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. There you go. And if you look on your drops page on Twitch, that's where you'll find the information that you need about it. So you might be able to get yourself a free Twitch badge to use on your profile. So there you go. Well done, Goriki, for catching that and clipping it. I'm looking forward to seeing it after. And don't forget to put a link in the Clips channel. That's cool. Where do we get to? Oops, I'm going to put my cushion back on just because my seat's a little bit low now. Now I've got cat fluff on my nose. Very definitely. Now, it was promptly decided that all the invitation to hold the affair on the McAllister grounds should be accepted with thanks, and as there remained not many hours of the day to attend to arrangements as the next afternoon would bring them to the test, the girls hastily scattered to begin their respective duties in the matter. We got that bit. Viola Green was present at the meeting. Alice had told her of its purpose, and as only a few days remained of the time allotted Viola to remain at Dalton, Alice was not sorry when her visitor pleaded another engagement. Oh, the actual event, not the arrangement. That engagement consisted of a promise to walk through the green with Tom Burbank. He, too, was a stranger in Dalton, spending a week of his holiday with the Bennett family. Viola could boast of a well-filled trunk of stylish clothes, and in no other place of the many she had visited during her vacation had this wardrobe shown to such advantage as in Dalton. In other words, here she's a lot more posh than others, compared with the other places she's been for her holidays. Sorry, I'm just trying to itch it with something a little bit scratchy to see if that will help. Even the attractive linens that Alice was invariably gowned in, except on Sundays when she wore a simple summer silk, try saying that quickly, seemed of back date compared with the showy dresses Viola exhibited. They were stylish in that acceptance of the term that made them popular, but were not distinctive and would probably be entirely out of date by the following summer. So not truly stylish. Truly stylish will continue to look good rather than getting dated. More fashionable. On this particular afternoon, Viola wore a deep blue crepe with shaded ribbons, a dress, according to the feminine ethics of Dalton, fit for a party. Tom Burbank sported white flannels, a very good summer suit indeed, but a little out of the ordinary in Dalton. White flannels, that's white trousers, white shirt, white sleeveless pullover or jacket or something over the top, worn commonly used as the basis for a cricketing uniform, actually. I don't know why, but yes. We'll carry on. A good summer suit indeed, but a little out of the ordinary in Dalton. It was not to be Try the words again. It was not to be wondered at, then, that the appearance of these two strangers attracted some attention on the green. Neither could it be doubted that such attention was flattering to Viola. A stylishly dressed girl often enjoys being credited with her efforts. "Wasn't that the greatest?" Tom was drawling to Viola. "About those folks riding in the police wagon." "Disgraceful, I should say," replied Viola emphatically. "And the fellow in the farmer's duds, wasn't he a sight?" And the young man chuckled at the thought of Nat in the overalls and jumper. "And those two girls are going to Glenwood, the boarding school I attend." School. And Viola's lip curled in hauteur. "The dickens they are! I beg your pardon, but I was so surprised," said Tom. He was just almost... That was not swearing, but it was considered very rude to have said that in front of a girl back then. "I don't blame you. I was equally surprised myself, and in fact, I guess everyone was. They made up their minds so suddenly. I suppose..." Then Viola stopped. "Well, what do you suppose? Perhaps I shouldn't say it." "Why not? Can't you trust me?" "Oh, it wasn't that, but it might seem unkind." "That's because it is unkind, girl." "Nonsense!" And the young man gave Viola a reassuring look. "A thing said in good faith is never unkind." "I'm so glad you feel that way. Alice is so different, and I have just been dying to talk to somebody who would look at things as I do. Sometimes I am almost homesick." "Well, go off home then." "Sorry." "I suppose you are," said the youth, falling a victim to the girl's coquetry as readily as water runs downhill. "A fellow is never that way. Homesick, I mean, but for a girl..." "Oh, yes," sighed Viola. "This visiting is not all it is supposed to be. Alice is a lovely girl, of course, but..." "A trifle high-flown," said Tom, trying to help the faltering girl with her criticism. "She doesn't need help." "And so strangely fascinated with that Dorothy." Viola toyed evasively with the stick of her parasol. "Of course, she is a pretty girl." Too blondy," said Tom, feeling obligated to say something against Dorothy. "Do you know her cousin, Nat White?" "Not very well. I only met him the other night, but he seems like a decent fellow." "I cannot imagine any boy allowing two girls to get in such a predicament," said Viola, feeling her way to further criticism. She was feeling her way to further criticism. "It was rough, but then you see he was not with them. He had gone to the blacksmith shop to get something fixed, I believe." "Oh, they were alone." And Viola had gained 1 point. "Was it really melons, do you suppose?" "So he said, but he seemed to take the whole thing as a joke. Ginger, it was funny to go out in a red flyer and come back in a black Maria." And Tom laughed at his own attempt at a pun. "Then when the cousin came back and the girls were in the police patrol, that accounts for it. I could not possibly see how any young fellow could allow girls to get into such a scrape," persisted Viola. "Yes," said Tom vaguely, not being at all particular as to what was the nature of the remark he had given acquiescence to. "But to be arrested," went on Viola. "Were they arrested?" asked Tom in surprise. "Why, of course," declared Viola. "Didn't Mr. White say so?" "Oh, I suppose he did. That is, I really had not looked at it that way. I thought it was some kind of a joke." But Tom had said yes. Nat had told him they had been arrested. And Tom Burbank never intended to say anything of the kind. Viola Green, with her pretty clothes and pretty looks, had put the words into his mouth and had taken them out again. "We must be going," said Viola, leaving her seat beside the little fish pond in the park. "I suppose I shall see you at the lawn party?" "If I am invited." "Then I invite you now. You need not say you got my invitation before the others were out, but be sure to come." Oh dear, she's a worry. 19 pages. Oh, I've got 10 minutes. I don't think I can do it justice. I don't want to rush it because it's going to be disaster. We know that beforehand, don't we? Oh, no, I'm not going to start the next chapter. The next chapter is chapter 10, and it's called A Lawn Party with Boys. Yes, it uses quotation marks. So if you want to know what happens next, you're going to have to come along next time I'm reading, which should be on, what's today? Friday. Should be on Monday, so that's in 3 days' time from now. So if you are unsure, you can always check my schedule. And usually I'm there doing something, usually reading, here actually, usually reading, occasionally I will play games. Just remember, when it is Halloween, the week of Halloween, I should be playing sort of more autumnal games, maybe cute, cozy, Halloween-styled games. I don't know, but they will be games rather than reading, because I did lots of reading about Halloween type. I did lots of reading of spooky and weird stories last Halloween. This time we're going to do games instead. Oh, yay. Don't think I've got any craft things to do for Halloween, but if I do, we'll do them then. In that week before, maybe a little bit longer than that, I don't know. It's the end of this month. It's not that far away, really, because, oh boy, we just got all the way through September, and we're already in October, and it feels like it was only sort of like a week long. Life's like that at the moment. Anyway, so good to see you. So good to have you here. Look forward to seeing you all again next time. Okay? Just remember to stay hydrated. Look after yourself by being kind to yourself. Because if you are feeling down on yourself, you're going to find it a lot harder to get on well with others around you that need you to be there. So be kind to yourself.